Welcome to another episode of the Restorative Longevity Podcast. My name is Jimmy Yin, the ACU Sensei, and so excited to bring you another great information just information that you're not going to hear. So this is information you're not going to find anywhere else. Some of it may seem similar, but it's actually very different because restorative longevity is focused on it's a movement that I started and a terminology that I coined. And so it's different from longevity. Longevity is about living longer, right? You could be on 20 medications and living longer. And, most people would, if you ask most people, they'll say, no, I don't want to do that. I'd rather just live 50 years and live the best quality of life of my 50 years. And I am ready to go, right? Nobody wants to live another 50 years of misery, right? Well, restorative longevity is different. It's that, what if that last 50 years, it could be even better than your first 50 years. Now, how cool would that be? That is the purpose of restorative longevity. So in alignment, let me make sure, hold one second. In alignment with the way that I do this podcast, I'm going to give you the point, the nuggets right away, right in the beginning of the podcast. So you don't have to wait till the end, right? So the topic of today is, can you reverse aging with the Longevity 7? What is the Longevity 7? Now, let me answer that question first. Can you reverse aging with the Longevity 7? Some people have proven around the world that you can. You can, and there are communities around the world that have actually done that. Now, is there a scientific research to show that, that they're doing it? Not that many. So does that mean that those people who are actually still living today, that just because there's not a scientific evidence-based study to prove that what they're doing is actually what they say, they're alive, right? So again, don't get me on the rant of evidence-based research and how it's manipulated. But coming back, can you reverse aging with the Longevity 7? These people who are currently alive, they prove that you can, right? So what is the Longevity 7? I'm going to give it to you right now. The Longevity 7 is number 1, purpose. Number 2, joy and happiness. Number 3, community. Number 4, movement. Number 5, rest. Number 6, love. Number 7, fuel. That is the Longevity 7. Okay. And people around the world are already using these Longevity 7. They don't call it the Longevity 7. They call it some different things, but I just created my own formula. The formula that we use for our patients at our clinic at Achieve Integrative Health. We are the #1 rated acupuncture and wellness clinic in the entire US. So I am not telling you this based off of theory or something that I read in a book. This is after treating thousands of patients since 2007. So so what is the proof? Some people are asking, where's your proof that what you're talking about actually works? Well, number 1, there's communities all around the world. There's 5 specific communities, and actually they're discovering more and more communities all around the world that are practicing the Longevity 7. Again, they don't call it the Longevity 7. I am calling it. This is my formula, right? And so they are practicing this, and they are living their second half of their life is a better quality of life than their first half, right? So, a lot of times here in the US, we think by the time you get to 50 years old, 60 years old, things are starting to go downhill, right? But for these communities who are people who are living today, there's no evidence-based research on this. There's no research, study done on this. These are people these are live. This is reality-based research, what I like to call reality-based research. These are people living it. Their life actually improves after they get 60, after they pass 60 into 100, right? So that's one proof that the Longevity 7 works and it helps reverse aging. Second proof is the patients in our clinic. We've treated thousands of patients using the Longevity 7, right? And we have been able to not necessarily reverse aging because some of them are young, but we've actually restored their organ function. So that's the Longevity 7, right? So I'm going to go a little into just a brief overview of the Longevity 7 in this podcast, but I'm going to do future podcasts that's going to dive deeper into each of the Longevity 7. Now that's only if you want me to. So make sure you comment below to let me know that you want me to dive deeper in how can you use the Longevity 7 to restore your organ function that can help your body heal your autoimmune disease, that can help your body restore some of that brain function, slow down the Alzheimer's. How can it help you restore your Hashimoto's, your organ function, to reverse your Hashimoto's, your Graves' disease, your rheumatoid arthritis? How can it help you heal faster after cancer treatments? How can it help you restore your organ function so you reverse your diabetes, you reverse your cholesterol, you reverse your hypertension? Now notice, I'm not saying that we will do it. I'm saying you will do it. Your body will do it, right? Because I have to watch what I say because of these, people, pharmaceutical companies pay YouTube a lot, and they're not going to let me say certain things, otherwise they're going to shut down my channel. But so I have to be careful. So it's really your body, and in reality, yes, your body is what heals your cancer. Your body's what heals your cholesterol problems, your obesity, your inability to lose weight. It's your body that has that ability to do it. Okay, now, those of you who this is your first time watching this podcast, make sure you hit the subscribe button. You're going to hear different information here, and sometimes you may even think, man, this guy, he's not a doctor and I'm not a doctor, and I'll just do a disclaimer about that, but he doesn't know what he's talking about, right? You're going to have people, you may be like that. Well, I just welcome you to just stick in with it and actually implement the strategies that I tell you here, just one strategy at a time, and just implement that for over 6 weeks every single day. They say that if you can do a habit, if you can start doing something, let's say you're trying to build a new habit, and if you do it every day consistently for 6 weeks straight, then you have a good chance of maintaining that habit. And if you're able to maintain the habit, guess what? You're going to see results. You're going to see your health restored, right? So now these strategies that I tell you, some of the times they may help you pretty quickly, but most of the time it takes long term, 6 months to a year of doing these habits for you to see changes, right? Because long-term habits result in increasing your life expectancy and increasing your quality of life. If you only do things once a week or a month or 3 months and then you quit, right? That's not a habit, right? Just think about that. I love answering questions. So if I've got my chat turned on. If you have any questions about anything that I'm talking about, feel free to just message in the chat and I'll get to them as soon as possible, right? Okay, so I'm going to do a brief overview. I'm not going to deep dive into all the Longevity 7 because each one I could talk hours for, right? So again, let me just refresh. If you're joining on this podcast, let me refresh and just summarize again. What is the Longevity 7? Number 1, purpose. 2, joy and happiness. 3, immunity. 4, movement. 5, rest. 6, love. Fuel. 7, fuel. Okay. So I'm going to briefly go over what each means because some of the terms are self-explanatory and some of them are not. So purpose, right? Everybody thinks purpose is a bunch of woo-woo and nobody pays attention to it because everybody lives their life kind of mindlessly. And I've done this before, right? I'm not saying this as a knock or something to say that you are not good or anything. I'm just saying that this is just especially here in the US. I think in other cultures, even in Europe and Africa, Asia, Australia, really just, I would say mostly in the US, we are living such a busy culture, a culture of busyness, that we just do things without even thinking about why we're doing it and if we should even be doing it, right? That is what purpose is all about. It's not about slowing down, although you do tend to slow down. It's about being intentional. I don't like the word slowing down, because people who are living in the blue zones. So the blue zones are areas where they live over 100 years old and they have a higher quality of life than people in their 60s and 70s here in the US. They don't, people say slow down, but they're active. They're active doing things. They're farming. They ain't slowing down, right? They are just intentional on how they spend their time. And so that's a meaning of purpose. And so when I do the segment on purpose, I'm going to have some strategies to help you be able to identify your purpose, right? And again, many people disregard this number one. And there's a reason why number one, purpose is the most important thing. Like out of the longevity 7, purpose is number one. You take away, if you one of these steps or process protocols that you would ask me and say, hey, which one would be the most important? It would be purpose, right? That's why people, when you lack purpose, you tend to burn out, right? The people who are on purpose, basically what they're doing is what they feel like that is a reason why they are born into this world. They are working hard. From the outside in, people see that they're just working hard. They're just working too hard, right? But those people are the most joyful people. And because they are doing what they believe that, whether you're a believer or not, I'm a believer, Christian, so I believe what God put us on this earth to do. But regardless, they truly believe in what they were meant to do on this earth. And so when they're doing what they love to do, it's just a quote. When you do what you love to do, then you'll never work another day. They don't have burnout. They don't feel burnout. They love doing it. They want to get back and do it the next day. They're ready to get up in the morning and do it again. So when you don't have that feeling, most likely you're not on purpose, okay? But again, like I said, I'll go over detail with that. Number 2, joy and happiness. Joy and happiness, and also goes along with purpose. So some of you may already be thinking, what does this have to do with reversing my diabetes, right? What does this have to do with reversing my rheumatoid arthritis? What does this have to do with reversing my Alzheimer's, my neuropathy, right? My Meniere's disease, right? My hypertension, my Sjogren's disease, my lupus. What does it have to do? Write this down. Your psychology affects your physiology. Your psychology affects your physiology. Psychology means what, Pierre? What you think. Well, how you think of things directly affects your physiology. What is your physiology? Your physiology is your body, your physical body. All the reactions are going in your physical body. How you think directly affects how your body responds, right? And let me give you an example. When you are stressed out, when you are doing, like let's say you're not on purpose and you don't have joy, you're not happy all the time, you're not, and I'm gonna distinguish happy and joyous. Joy is different, but let's just say you're not on purpose, you're not doing what you love to do, you're not happy majority of the time. And what does that do? So your psychology affects your physiology. That unhappiness triggers your brain to go into stress. It stresses your brain. Just think about it. When you're unhappy, are you like your brain relaxed and calm? No, it's all freaking out, right? It's freaking out, and it's like a little squirrel. It's got squirrel syndrome too. You feel like you have ADD and ADHD, right? Which is not a side note. That's not a disease. ADHD, ADD is not a disease. Okay, using chemicals to mask it ain't helping your kid, or ain't helping you. So your psychology affects your physiology. You're doing something every day. You show up for a job just because you want to make money, right? You want the money to fund whatever you want to do, but you're just hating your job, or maybe you don't. You're just complacent. You're like, I'm willing to work. You don't love your job. It tells your brain, okay, I'm stressed out. Your brain's going to respond. Well, how does your brain respond? Your brain responds by secreting a stress hormone called cortisol. This is so popular. Most functional medicine practitioners talk about this. It secretes cortisol. What does cortisol do? Cortisol does a number of things. It causes a cascade reaction to cause your rest of your body to go into stress, to fight or flight, right? Cortisol also raises your blood sugar. Because if you're going to fight or flight, you need fuel. That means blood sugar. You need sugar. Sugar is the fastest fuel, right? It's going to cause your body to flood your cortisol causes your body to flood your bloodstream with sugar. Sugar increases, causes inflammation. Cortisol causes inflammation. And so after you've fight or flight, your fight or flight is your work, because you hate your work, you're not happy. So you're always in fight or flight at your work. And then when you go home, you try to relax, right? But then you're in pain. Now, why is that? Why is it that you're in pain after you come back from work when you've just been sitting there all day? It's because your physiology affects your psychology affects your physiology. Let me continue this example. Let me go back for those of y'all who are just jumping on. You're stressed at work. You don't like your job. Your job is not purposeful. You're not happy. It causes your brain to secrete cortisol. Cortisol floods your body with sugar while you're at work. That increases inflammation, right? It gives you like a surge of energy, yes. And then when you go home, you try to relax, the cortisol shuts down, right? But the problem is the inflammation has been generated. The inflammation goes into your joints. That's why you're gonna feel all stiff when you go home. You try to play with your grandkids, you try to play with your kids, you can't, because your back's hurting, your neck's hurting, your shoulders hurting, your knees are hurting, your hips are hurting. That all was caused. See, you didn't go out and work out. That was all caused by your psychology. That's what I'm saying. Your psychology affects your physiology. So your psychology, how you spend your time, if it's purposeful, affects how you're going to feel at the end of the day. And then in the weekends, when you want to go out and hang out on the beach, or like here in Austin, we've got Austin City Limits. You want to sit and listen to some music or walk around, you're all joint pain and just feel crabby. You don't have a lot of energy. That all was caused by your psychology, your brain secreting the stress hormones, right? So that's the purpose. That is the reason why purpose is number one, joy and happiness are number two. Joy and happiness also joy, just really quick, what's the difference between joy and happiness? Happiness is short term. You can be happy short term. Like you eat a ice cream bar. Feels good short term. While you're eating it, maybe a little after you're eating it, but probably an hour later, 2 hours later, you feel tired. So happiness is short term. Joy is long term. All right. Again, we'll dive in deeper later in later segments. Again, if you want me to go deeper into the Longevity 7 on how it can help you restore your organ function so that your body can reverse your chronic degenerative diseases. That's neurodegenerative. It could be Alzheimer's, peripheral neuropathy. It could be tremors. It could be Meniere's, migraines. It can be your autoimmune disorders, Hashimoto's. It can be rheumatoid arthritis. It can be Graves' disease. It could be lupus, it could be chronic pain, obesity, cholesterol, the 4 horsemen, heart disease, right? These Longevity 7 can help your body restore your organ function so that your body can reverse them yourself. Number three is community. Who you hang around is super important. It is true, you are the sum or the average of the 5 people you hang around. So if you hang around 5 obese people, 4 other obese people, and you're not obese right now, after a year, I guarantee you will be overweight, if not obese. So your community is super important. If you hang around 4 people that all they do when you get together is complain, nag and complain about their job, how unhappy they are, how they wish they could do something else, guess what? You may have loved your job and loved what you were doing initially, but being around those 4 people, at the end of the year, you eventually hate your job, right? So community is super important, right? You want to have a joyful and happy life, be around people that are joyful and happy, right? So we'll go into more detail about that also. Now, some of this may seem common sense, but I guarantee you that you can, there's small tweaks that you can do in your life, and that can change your health, right? Let's see. The Jacob asks, what's the best thing to do if you have chronic pain? Yeah, so great question. And thank you for the question. I love questions. So I'm going to use the Longevity 7 to answer your question. And I've already gone through 3. right? So if you're the only person who's asking questions, then I'll use your chronic pain as example for the longevity 7. Okay. So what do you do if you have chronic pain? Number one, right? We just talked about community. Who are you around? Are you around people that just sit around? Is your community the 5 other people that you hang around, do they just sit and binge on donuts every day? Do they sit and just complain every day? Do they just watch TV for 12 hours a day, 4 hours a day, 3 hours a day? Are they active or are they non-active? So one thing for chronic pain, I can tell you this. There's many causes of chronic pain. So I'm not saying, since I have no idea what's causing yours, I'm just going to tell you what I've seen in our practice, in our clinic in Cedar Park, Texas. We're the number 1 acupuncture and wellness clinic in the entire US. And so we see that, I would say strength, weakness. Weakness is one of the biggest causes of chronic pain, right? If your muscles are weak, your joints are going to be weak. And that's going to cause you to have joint pain. Your joints are not supposed to bear the stress of your daily living, your daily movement. It's your muscles, right? So that's why I said, are you around a community of people that move around? I'm not saying exercise, and I'm not even saying going to a gym, okay? Again, the longevity 7 is completely different. I'm talking about, are you around if you just do this one thing, be around people. You can be around people who have chronic pain, right? But be around people who have chronic pain that are trying to reverse it. Not through medication. Medication doesn't reverse your chronic pain, right? Because you could do an experiment. If you're taking medication, if you're taking steroids or non-NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory, or any type of anti-inflammatories, if you're taking those for your chronic pain right now, if you stop those today, your pain comes right back. That's why I say medications do not restore and they do not reverse your chronic pain. I don't need a scientific study to do that. Everybody who has chronic pain can do their own study, right? So how do you reverse it? Now, I'm not telling you what to do for medications. I am not a physician. I'm not a medical doctor. I was not trained to prescribe medications. Medical doctors are trained to prescribe medications and do surgery. They are not trained to restore organ function. They're not trained in nutrition and dietary. They're not trained in lifestyle recommendations. I am, right? And so community, who you are around, super important, right? So get around people who, whether they're in chronic pain or not, if they're in chronic pain, but they're trying to get out of chronic pain and they're trying to reverse it, they're not trying to mask it, they're trying to reverse it. So if you just do that one tidbit, I guarantee you, Jacob, you're gonna start feeling better. The pain may not go away 100%, but you will start feeling better, okay? Number 4, movement. This also goes to chronic pain. Movement. Movement is number 4 of my longevity 7. Now, you'll notice I don't say exercise, because the people in the blue zones who live past 100 years old and have a higher quality of life than 60 and 70-year-olds, they don't go to a gym. They don't lift weights, right? They integrate movement into their daily life. And we'll go into more on how you can do that, right? We've got another question. Rosalind, I have a question. How can I gain stamina and endurance? I have no pain, but give up halfway when doing exercise. I guess it's a mental thing. Any tips? Great question, Rosalind, and thank you for the question. Again, I love questions. There's, again, many things that can be the cause of this, right? You may have some organ dysfunctions, and that's why it's preventing you from having the stamina. But I'm going to use it according to longevity 7. I'm going to answer it using the longevity 7. Okay. So movement. So when we say, so kind of almost answer that, Rosalind, right? So don't go to exercise. Go and move, just incorporate movement into your daily lives, right? So movement, like for example, if you're working in a building, instead of taking the elevator, take some stairs, right? Maybe you can go up one flight and you get tired, right? And your endurance is down. Okay, just go up one flight every day. Do that until you are walking that one flight of stairs, and you're just like, oh wait. One day you're like, man, I'm not tired. Maybe I can do 2 flights, right? And then just slowly integrate that. You don't need to go to a gym, guys, okay? You don't need to get a gym membership. Actually, going to a gym does not, I would say people that go to a gym, right, unless they do it consistently, but most people who go to a gym eventually stop. That's why I'm saying number 4 is movement. It is not about going to a gym and exercising. How can we develop habits, daily habits that encourage us to move, right? When I was in Taiwan earlier this year, I did there's public transportation. So there's these trains, buses, and so forth. And they have escalators. So it goes down, it's a subway. So we have to go down, and they have escalators, when you get on the subway and you have to go back up. Well, my wife and I, instead of we take the escalators, right, we walk the stairs. And we just intentionally walk the stairs. And after that, I have a tracker. We ended up walking 5 to 6 miles every day. And we were not even trying to exercise, right? And through that 5 to 6 miles of walking every day, my wife and I were able to, this goes to number 3, community. We were able to have more deeper conversations and to develop our relationships, right? So movement and community, my longevity 7, they all fit together. They are not anything different, right? So this is about how to live a life that will give you higher quality of life, right? So last thing about what Rosalind said, I guess it's a mental thing. Well, it could be. Remember, earlier on in this podcast, I said your psychology affects your physiology. So if you don't like exercising, you don't like going to the gym, you just force yourself to go to the gym, well, that's already causing stress. You are already generating inflammation before you even hit the gym. And this is why, here's another reason why, if you don't want to go to the gym, don't go to the gym, okay? This is why I see a lot of injuries. People who don't want to go to the gym, but they, all these weight loss programs or all these, programs, people say, oh, you got to do the gym, you got to do this, you got to lift weights, you got to do blah, 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 right? I'm not saying those are wrong. I like to lift weights, but I like to lift weights, right? If you don't like to do those things, many people do that. They force themselves to go to a gym. So before they even walk into the gym, they're already stressed out. Their body, their joints are already inflamed. And then you go lift heavy weights. Guess what? You're going to injure yourself. And then you injure yourself, and then you get more stress because now you can't go back to the gym. So absolutely, Rosalind, your psychology can affect your physiology, okay? Great questions, guys. You're very welcome, Jakub. Number 5 is rest. Out of my longevity 7, number 5 is rest. Rest, you'll notice I didn't say sleep, because sleep is not just the only time you rest, but sleep is the most important part of your rest, right? The only time, or one of 2 times, right, that your body heals, one is when you're resting. The other time, right, and that's the most important time. I would say the only time that your body is in a full 100% healing mode, that it's healing your body by itself, okay? The only time you're doing that is when you're resting. There is no other time, right? There is other times when your body is healing itself, but not at 100%. And I like to say, imagine all of our bodies, we have a cleaning company, right? We have our own, dusters, sweepers, moppers, and we have our own cleaning company. The only time our whole cleaning company comes out and cleans our body is when you're resting. There's no other time where it's doing it 100%. Now, there are times throughout the day, and there are certain things that you can do to have 50% of your cleaning crew come out and clean, right? And I'll share with you that when I talk about when I do a segment podcast on rest. Number 6 is love, okay? Rosalind, what is your opinion of a 4 plate? The power plate, the one that vibrates, supposedly heal athletes' injuries. Appreciate it. You're very welcome, Rosalind. So vibration plates, right? That's a movement. That goes to my number 4 of longevity, movement. Those vibration plates, absolutely great. Those are phenomenal, right? They, especially for those who are in chronic pain. Actually, Jakub, it's good for you. Anybody who has chronic pain, we do it for people who have peripheral neuropathy, nerve damage in their hands and feet, right? Or if they went through chemotherapy, cancer treatments, radiations, the side effects of those cancer treatments are nerve damage, we use a vibration plate. We have one in our clinic as well. Number six is love. You need to have more love, guys. Now, love is not, yes, you need more people to love you, have people love you. But love, when I say the love in Longevity 7, I'm talking about you go loving someone else. First, your family, your immediate family, your extended family, and then go love your friends, your circle, your inner circle. And then imagine if if every one of us could spread more love within our community. Imagine what our community would be like. Imagine what our country would be like, your country would be like. Imagine that. All of this war that's going on is because there's a lack of love, okay? And there's other things we talk about in regards to love, right? And number 7, fuel. The least important of my Longevity 7 is fuel. What is fuel? Food. Everybody thinks, maybe you've thought, that the key to restoring optimal function in your body, the key to reversing your diabetes, your rheumatoid arthritis, your chronic pain, your Alzheimer's, your ADHD, your anxiety, depression, many people think it's diet is number one. And personally, I used to think that too, right? It's not. It's the least important. Now, I'm not saying go, okay, hey, then you leave this podcast and you're like, hey, Jimmy the Acu Sensei said I can go and get a bucket of donuts because he said food's not important. No, that's not what I'm saying. I am saying food is the least important, right? And most people focus on food. Most of the, you look at all these holistic practitioners, functional medicine practitioners, and they focus on diet. You got to do this for your diet. If you're gluten intolerant, or if you have celiac disease, or if you have thyroid disease, you should avoid gluten. And if you should do these food panel tests to see what you are sensitive to or allergic to, and that will tell you what to avoid in foods. There's common fitness trainers, nutritionists, they're all saying you need to avoid grains. Now, maybe you need to avoid grains initially, but you want to know out of the 5 blue zones, areas in the world, what food they have in common, right? Blue zones are people who live a high quality life past 100 years old. Grains. The very thing that, especially here in the US, nutritionists, dietitians, functional medicine practitioners, fitness trainers, they're all telling you stay away from grains. Grains are terrible for you. Based on evidence-based research. So again, you have to think what you believe in. I believe in reality-based research. Again, what is reality-based research? That's just a term that I created because evidence-based research can be manipulated. Reality-based research cannot be manipulated. Why? Because it is people living it. It is their life. If you want to go see if it's true or not, just go watch them. Go live with them. Go see if they practice what they're preaching, right? And so reality-based research shows that if you want to live a higher quality of life past 100, you need grains. Now, again, I'm not telling you to go out and get some grains. Some of you do need to avoid grains right now because your organs cannot process that food. But it is not grains that is the problem. It is your intestines that has a problem. It could be your small intestine. It could be your large intestine. It could be your stomach. So when they tell you to avoid that food, yes, that's a temporary solution. That's not a permanent fix. That doesn't restore your gut function. If you eat grains and you get sick, that is not because the grains is the problem. Now, I'm assuming you're eating the right type of grains. Okay, let's assume you're eating organic grains, right? The right type of grains. And let's assume everybody's doing that. But if even that, like brown rice, gives you indigestion, gives you fatigue, gets you joint pain, that's not the grains problem. It's your organs problem. See, even in holistic medicine, natural medicine here right now in the US, there's still not focused on restoring your organ function. It's no different from Western medicine in the sense of, oh, you are allergic to this, just stop eating it. Well, what if you're allergic to everything? Do you just stop eating? Right? Makes no sense. Why are there people all around the world in different countries, 5 different countries, one of them is in the US. Why have people all around the world, they can eat grains and they're healthier? They have more optimal health. They have more energy, more stamina, more strength, more mental capacity to get smarter. Why? Let's think about that. Maybe because even the natural medicine here in the US is addressing the wrong thing, right? Could be. I'm just posing questions for you. I'm not saying who's right or wrong, okay? But that is it for our time, guys. I appreciate you watching. Let me know in the chat, in the comments below, do you want me to deep dive into the Longevity 7 and give you actually actionable steps on how you can use it to reverse your chronic degenerative, neurodegenerative diseases, reverse your cardiovascular disease, hypertension, high cholesterol, obesity, your metabolic disease, diabetes, your neuropathy, your chronic pain, your rheumatoid arthritis, your Sjogren's, your migraines, your lupus, your all those. They're all chronic degenerative diseases. Your body has the ability. You just need to know what to do to help your body do it, heal it by itself. All right, guys, thank you for attending and thank you for the comments and questions. I love it. I'll see you same time, same channel, Sundays, Central Standard Time, 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, the Restorative Longevity Podcast. I'm Jimmy, the AccuSensei. Have a great Sunday. I'm off to church.